Y'all can introduce yourselves. I already gave like a little semi introduction about why we here, and
Yeah.
you can just give your side and introduce yourselves.
So, we are the Bread and Wine Podcast. We appreciate Brother Phineas for coming out. Once again, we are the Bread and Wine Podcast. Just like a pimp named Slickback, just like a Tribe Called Quest, you have got to say the entire thing. The Bread and Wine Podcast. I am one of the members. Yahuka said, to my right and your left is
Caleb.
Ben Yasharal, and to my left and your right is
Not Saudi
Yasharal. Yes, sir. So we appreciate being here. Hit up Brother Phineas because saw that he had threw out a PDF concerning like Gentiles and different I guess you want to say how Gentiles is used in the text in scripture. So I guess we can just like run through it. Or if Brother Phineas got any questions, we can all just like have a conversation and get to a ground understanding of who the Gentiles are, and when Gentiles or strangers is used, what is the context that it is used in?
Do y'all need the slides or y'all or
I think I need the slides. Let me see. I know I had them. Did I send it on the
You didn't send it to me.
I didn't send it. Oh snap. Well, there you go right there. Appreciate you, big dog.
not a problem.
All right. Can you see all of us? Or we cut off a little bit?
Nah, we can see everybody.
All right. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
All right, we there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me y'all need to get one of these cases too. Go ahead.
For me.
You ain't see that.
All right, go ahead.
Did y'all want to start with the terms or y'all just want to move straight to it? I don't know exactly how y'all wanted to do. Man, I have time to go through all of them. But
all right, I guess we can go through the terms. What's a proselyte?
Convert, keep it short. Somebody who was not of the nation of Israel, but they decide to follow Yah, to follow Torah, and to essentially cleave unto the covenant. You can see an example of this in Isaiah 56, where it talks about a foreigner or a stranger who essentially says, well, I'm far away from Yah's people. And Yah essentially says, no, if you keep the Shabbats and cleave unto my covenant, then essentially he'll give you a place among the people. So that's a proselyte, to keep it short.
So you're talking about Isaiah 56 and what is that, 7?
Yeah.
Let me see. I think it's 7. Well, 7 is in there.
So it starts with the eunuch and then it talks about the proselyte.
Yeah. I think it's so and the sons of the foreigner who join themselves to Yahuwah to serve him, to love the name of Yahuwah, to be his servants, everyone who keeps the Shabbat from defiling it and holds fast to my covenant. So in terms of what I'm saying, the word for like the son of the stranger or the son of the foreigner is Neker. It's the Strong's H5236, and it literally means like someone that is strange, an alien, foreign, strange, foreigner, heathendom. So this is a heathen.
Okay,
go ahead.
And to be very specific with that word, Nakar, Strong says that if you use a dictionary called the Classical Hebrew Dictionary, well, it's a concise dictionary of Classical Hebrew, they go into a little bit more detail, and they specifically say it is a person belonging to another god. So they are literally of another nation. This word never applies to an Israelite, ever.
Yeah, actually in Genesis 35, 2 and 4, it's actually referred to foreign gods. And in Joshua 20, 24, and 23.
Okay. Okay. I have no issues with it. What about stranger? We just gonna go down them?
Okay.
Yeah, we can, for real.
And two, for and that was a great example of when I want these terms, how I have it. That's the kind of answer that I want. I want a verse for an example. Even going into the Strongs or the or any other lexicon or Thayer's, whatever. and and that definition, and you defining it and giving an example, 1 or 2 examples. So that's perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Whether I agree or don't agree, for anybody's trying to do this PDF and go through this thing, that's kind of that's what I'm looking for when I'm saying at the bottom there, give me an example, book, chapter, verse, and that fits your definition, that fits what you say it is, and then show that in the text. But y'all can continue.
All right, I guess we go to stranger.
Yeah.
I think one of the best ones really to go to is in Exodus.
Yep. I was looking right there.
Exodus 12.
Well, I was looking at 22 and 20, which is a little different. Yeah. But I'm having a hard time with the app I'm using, pulling up the actual Hebrew behind it. Exodus 22 and 20 says, "You shall not wrong or oppress a stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt." To keep it short, a stranger is simply somebody who just is in a land or in a place that they don't necessarily belong. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are a convert. It just means that they're in that land, and it could be that they're peaceable. There were plenty of people that were strangers in Israel. For example, if you go into Jeremiah, you'll see that the actual when King what was the king in Jeremiah who threw him in the pit? He was on his neck in dung. Whatever that king's name was, and the Cushite came and lifted him out of that.
Oh yeah.
That Cushite was actually a stranger. We know this because historically, it was known that there were various Cushite settlements all throughout the land of Israel. Not saying that they were, had permanent settlements or anything like that, but they were just scattered throughout Israel. They did not stop doing whatever Cushites did. They just lived peaceably among the Israelites, and they were just doing whatever business they had to do there. So yeah, that's really all it is for a stranger. It's just they're in a land that's not their land.
What you got, Nassar?
I'm gonna say we have pictures of this in our time. Like if someone comes here and they're on a visa, whether for work or school, they're not a citizen, they're not a resident, but they're here to conduct business, whether it would be for school or for work, or if you go to someone's country with a passport, you're there for a temporary means.
So I want to give another example of this. Genesis 23:4. This is Abraham buying a burial site. So he says that I am a foreigner and a visitor among you. Give me property for a burial site among you, that I might bury my dead out of my sight. So you actually have like ger, which is the Strong's 1616, and this is just like used as like a stranger or a sojourner, or an alien or a foreigner, right? So I think it's just giving the classification of what they are. But this other word, which he uses for like visitor, which can also be used as a stranger or a sojourner, is the word toshav or toshav. This is the Strong's 8453. So this would be like an inhabitant, someone that is like he's a dweller within the land. It says he's distinguished from the native citizen. He can be a temporary inmate, or he can just be a mere lodger. So it sounds like that this word, in terms of toshav, which we understand in English, has a lot of different meanings based upon the context of it and when it's used.
He's got a green card.
He got a green
Basically,
card.
Yeah. Basically.
He got a green card.
He stands for however long you need to.
But he don't have all the benefits of being like one of the people in that nation. He doesn't
can't partake in everything.
He's protected.
Yeah.
But like he can't do Pesach.
Yeah.
They can't, like a lot of the laws you see in Deuteronomy where it says, your brother you can't do this to. A foreigner you can do this to, but your brother, that foreigner would be this person.
There wouldn't be a ger.
And we still have some of that here too. Like a foreigner here or a temporary resident, one right they can't do, they can't vote. Or if they have any, let's say, legal issues, they have something called a consulate. They have also something. They have embassies here as well. So they don't have all the same rights as American citizens.
So another verse, Leviticus 25 and 6. No, it's not 25 and 6. It's another one. There's something about like the one. Oh, it might be.
You want to say I got a question from the chat too? It's cool for y'all to answer questions.
Yeah, Caleb.
Wait, hold on. Wait a minute. I didn't see the question.
Oh yeah, Caleb can answer questions. He's really good at that.
We can answer questions. But okay, fine.
Yeah, send it.
It says Torah-driven faith asks, can an Israelite be a gar in Israel?
No.
No, he can be as one, like in terms of what is it when your brother waxes poor, and you're to come under his household, and then you are to treat him. Well, no, you don't treat him as one, but he, in a sense, he's treated as one, which means he doesn't have any livelihood. He doesn't have any money. You're allowing him to work underneath your roof until he gets to where he needs to get to. So it's more like the occupational aspect, not him being that.
So the reason why they are
he's a
called
contractor.
Yeah, the reason why they're called strangers is because they literally are not in that place that they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right. So and the reason why they were strangers in Egypt is because that's not their land. Right.
Not land, language, culture.
Yeah, none of that is theirs.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that up because I sometimes we do just think about just the land, but also again the language, the culture, the food, the everything. It's not them. They're staying there in the land of Goshen, but that's not their people.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can't spread your roots the same because not your land. If I go to Japan right now, how they conduct themselves is very different than what I'm used to. So I wouldn't be able to embed myself in their society the same way I could here unless I fully integrate it into their way of life, which is what a proselyte has to do coming into.
Yeah, that's what a proselyte
Israel.
does. Like with Ruth. My Elohim would be your Elohim. Your Elohim would be my Elohim. Your people will be my people. Yep. She's literally saying, I'm going to change my whole way of life to the way you all do it. That's what a proselyte does.
Even now, dual citizenship is an issue for some countries. You have to renounce your past nation. So if you came into the people of Israel, the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you had to renounce the way of life of your people. You had to renounce the foreign Elohims which you came from, and you have to cleave unto the Elohim of the people that you are joining to. So we still carry all these concepts today in our world societies.
One more thing connected to that. Someone had a question. Dominique Dolas, can an Israelite be Tosab?
An Israelite can be Tosab if they're living. Yes. Well, in terms of like Abraham, even though Abraham isn't an Israelite, he's a Hebrew. He was Tosab among those who he dwelt among when he got the burial site for Sarah. He was a Tosab. So
if you're in a foreign land,
that would be an example. Yeah. But an Israelite cannot be a Tosab if he's a native born. Like if he's an Israelite living in Israel, he would not be Tosab.
You can't be a stranger in your own house.
Yeah. Now you can be a stranger. You can be a stranger in terms of like what mentally.
Well, I would call that like you're estranged.
Yeah, estranged.
Like you're separated for whatever reason.
Like you're the black sheep of the family.
Yeah, you're estranged.
But you're still a sheep.
Yeah, but you're not a stranger. Like
let's put a pin on that one though, because we're gonna have to come back to that. Let's put a pin in that.
Estranged.
Cool. Yeah, we'll come back to that part.
Estranged.
Yeah, my estranged spouse.
Yeah.
All right. So you want to move on to the next terms?
That's on Brother Phineas.
Yes, on y'all. It's on y'all, cool. Man. Y'all go ahead. All right. I'm looking at the chat, seeing if they have questions.
The next two are pretty simple.
Yeah, they're very simple.
Yeah. So circumcision and uncircumcision, they're basically together. You're mostly going to see the term used in that way in the New Testament, specifically in Paul's letters.
Right.
And
Ephesians 2.
yeah, Ephesians and Galatians as well. And I think in Romans as well. A lot of times you'll hear people, they're reading this and sometimes they actually think it's talking about the act of circumcision. No, it's actually talking about the people. Circumcision is very simple. You're a Jew.
Yeah, Jews and non-Jews.
The uncircumcision,
yeah.
non-Jews.
Yeah.
Why is this the case? Because at that time, the Pharisees had some halakha, which is basically the way you walk out Torah, but of course they added some things to it, and that's where you get the works of Torah, which is those added things, those added things that they kind of made up and said you have to follow that like Torah too, where they required proselytes to circumcise themselves immediately, and that's when they were considered part of Israel. So if you go into Galatians, that's that whole issue in Galatians and Acts 15. So the reason why they're called the circumcision is because you're circumcised, you're in the covenant. If you're uncircumcised from that point of state, that point of thinking, then you're clearly not in the covenant. So
it can be the people with the law versus the people without the law. Because it was issued to Israel, so they are the circumcised. So, but there's another component too. So we just talked about the blood component, the circumcised and uncircumcised, but then there's the circumcised and uncircumcised of the heart. So there's another designation too. So you can, even within the Jewish people, you can have the circumcised and uncircumcised.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go to that one too.
The remnant within the remnant.
The remnant, the remnant within the remnant. So Ephesians 2, this is how we know it's not in terms of how he's expressing it, he's talking to those like physically, because he says this. Ephesians 2:11 says, therefore, remember that you at one time, you Gentiles, in the flesh, called the uncircumcision by what is called the circumcision, which is made in the flesh of hands. So we can see right here, this is something physical. This is a physical identifier, a physical marking of what you are by how these people are categorizing you. Either circumcised, you're uncircumcised. We're going to keep it simple. Either, I kind of want to say black and white, but basically like that, right? There's no gray area. Either you're circumcised, or you're not circumcised. If you're circumcised, you're a Jew. If you're uncircumcised, you're a Gentile. I think we kind of convolute a lot of those things based upon 21st century thinking. There we go.
Yeah, but that's all that is. All right, next. Gentile. Yeah, Gentile is basically just a person from another nation. It's the word goy or goyim. It literally just means nation or nation.
This one, everybody's Gentile just means dang, never mind. I was thinking of goyim, which is nation, and I was like, everybody is a nation.
Yeah, but specifically how it's used in the scripture, it's specifically talking about a non-Israelite.
Yeah,
generally.
Yeah. So it's the Greek 1484 ethnos.
Yeah.
Gentile, heathen, nation, people, pagans, a race, a tribe.
Yeah. So now we did put that pin in the other thing because I want to go. Yeah, because I want to go back.
The Hebrew tied to that would be czar.
Yeah. So I want to go back because there is another word that's used in the King James, in the Greek, I'm sorry, that the King James also translates as a Gentile in the New Testament. And I believe the word is Hellenes or something like that.
Greek is not two Greek. It's like a Hellenist and ethnos.
Yeah.
The one with the H is Greek speaking Jews.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Hellenized Jews. So they're Jews, but they live as Greeks.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that sometimes you hear people say that, well, the Gentiles are Israelites that are living in other lands. Exclusively in the New Testament, that can be true, but you need to look at what word in the Greek is being translated, because sometimes you are dealing with Jews that are, again, like you said, Hellenized Jews. Hellenized Jews had a little bit of a difference between them and how Jews in Jerusalem and in the Middle East thought, because they were a little bit more influenced by things like Greek philosophy. They were living outside of Israel, so they kind of had to conform a lot more to the Greek world that they were living in. So sometimes they were called Hellenes. And again, the King James and some other translations translates both ethnos and Hellenes as Gentile. You have to go back and look which word is actually being translated, because sometimes it's talking about Jews that are just living outside of Israel, and other times it is specifically talking about Gentiles.
This is also why the New Testament was written in Greek because Greek was the lingua franca of that time.
Well, I would say Aramaic, but that's another discussion. Some of the books, at least. Some of the books.
And then also, this gives importance to what Shaul was doing, because he was going to these Hellenized Jews. And then this is around a time period when the Jews were scattered from the northern kingdom. And then connect this to you can look on a map and look at the kingdom of Alexander the Great. And look how all of that stuff spread, and in all those lands across the Mediterranean, Greek became, let's say, the business language.
It's like English is today.
Yeah. So, and then if we're looking at Shavuot or Pentecost, we see the lands that these people are coming from. It makes more sense why these guys were like Grecian Jews, and like why Shaul's like ministry was so important.
So in Acts 9, starting at verse 26, and when he had come to Jerusalem, all right, he's in Jerusalem. He attempted to join the disciples, and they were all afraid of him, for they did not believe that he was a disciple. But Barnabas took him and brought him to the apostles and declared to him on the road that he had seen the master, who spoke to him, and how at Damascus he had preached bodily in the name of Yahushua. So he went in and among them at Jerusalem, preaching boldly in the name of Yahuwah, or the name of the master. I don't know which one is using this one. And he spoke and disputed against the Hellenists, or the Hellenized, and they were seeking to kill him. And when the brothers learned about this, they brought him to Caesarea and sent him off to Tarsus. He's in Jerusalem. I think that when he was speaking to the Hellenists, I don't think he hasn't gone to the diaspora. He hasn't gone to the diaspora. He's in Jerusalem, and there's Hellenists in Jerusalem. So that's one aspect right there, that you have Greek-speaking Jews in Jerusalem.
Yep.
Let me see something. Acts 9, that's 29. Let me see where else Hellenist is used.
All over that joint.
Yeah, Hellenist is used a lot.
A lot.
1675. It only has 3 occurrences
In Acts?
in the New Testament.
Oh, that's crazy.
It only has it only has 3 occurrences.
It's gonna get tricky on the next one.
If it's more than one, it's a lot.
Oh, snap. I didn't even know this. All right. So it's used in Acts 6. It's used in Acts 6 and 1. Okay, so it says, and now in the days that these, you know what, let me do this. So now in the days, this is Acts 6 and verse 1. Now in these days, when the disciples were increasing in number, a complaint by the Hellenists arose against the Hebrews, because their widows were being neglected in the daily distribution. And the 12 summoned for the full number of the disciples and said, it is not right that we should give preaching the word of Elohim to serve tables. Therefore, brothers, pick out among you 7 men of good repute, full of the Ruach and of wisdom, whom we will appoint to this duty, but we will devote ourselves to prayer and the ministry of the word. And what they said pleased the whole gathering, and they chose Stephen, man full of belief and of the set apart spirit, and Philip and Procurius and Nicanor and Timon and Parnius and Nicholas, a proselyte. So Nicholas was a proselyte of Antioch. These were set before the apostles, and they prayed and laid hands on them. So
I ain't gonna lie, you butchered them names.
probably. So we already did Acts 9 and 29. Now let's go to Acts 11 and 20. So once again, in terms of that one, for Acts 6, they're not in the diaspora, and these people are recognized as Hellenists. Acts 11 and 20.
You didn't have to be in the diaspora to be Hellenized. You just had to live as a Greek.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because just living outside of Jerusalem or even outside of that area, you would have to do some level, just like us today.
Yeah.
We have to do some level of conforming, even though we don't want to, just because of where we live.
Yeah.
All right, so verse 19. This is about Antioch. Now these who were scattered because of the persecution that arose over Stephen traveled as far as Phoenicia, Cyprus, Antioch, speaking the word to no one except Jews. They didn't speak to Gentiles, they just speaking to Jews in terms of that part right there. But there were some of them, men of Cyprus and Cyrene, who on coming to Antioch spoke to the Hellenists, also preaching Yahusha the Messiah, or the Master Yahusha. So, and the question would be, well, who are these people? Are these Gentiles or are these Greek-speaking Jews?
Well, what's the word there?
Hellenists. Yeah. So what we gonna go with? Greek-speaking Jews? Or straight Goyim?
What did it say? I read that verse again.
It said, now those were scattered because of the persecution that arose over Stephen, traveled as far as Phoenicia and Cyprus and Antioch, speaking the word to no one except Jews. But there were some of them, men of Cyprus and Cyrene, who on coming to Antioch spoke to the Hellenists, also the preaching of the Master Yahusha.
Yeah, nah, that would still be Jews.
Yeah,
Greek-speaking Jews.
Yeah,
because the message is still going forth from, it's still going forth from the circumcised for the Jew first.
Cool. All right, you good? Finish.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm following.
All right, where we at now?
Grecian and Greek, which is
Ain't that the same thing?
Yeah, basically just a Greek.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just a Greek, just person from Greece, or a person who is living among the Greeks.
I think they're the same word. Like one might be Latin, one might be like a transliteration.
Yeah. It's just
they're the same word. Yeah,
it's just a language barrier. Not even from the original language, just from how it's translated.
And then what's the name? Heathen.
Let me say this. In the KJV, the three occurrences that y'all just read, that translates into the KJV as Grecian. Grecian is the Strong's Hellenistes. That's the word for Grecian, a Greek-speaking Jew. So Greek-speaking Jew will only appear 3 times in the text. And that word translated in the KJV is the word Grecian.
Okay, so I was mistaken when I said it was translated as Gentile. Then it was translated as Grecian.
Dang, so it's Greek-speaking Jews. So they got nothing to do with Gentiles. Now let me go to Greek in terms of Romans 1:16. It says, "For I'm not ashamed of the good news, for it is the power of Elohim for salvation to everyone who believes, to the Jew first and also to the Greek." Now, what is that word
for Greek?
For Greek. All right, so this word is Helleni, the Greek 1672, and it stands for Gentile and Greek or Greeks.
That is a non-Jew.
A Hellen, a Grecian, or inhabitant of Hellas, by extension, a Greek-speaking person, especially a non-Jew.
There you go.
So in John 17:35, it says he says, let me see. Oh, go ahead, Doc. My fault.
No, I was just talking about you, what you about to say, but go ahead.
Oh. So let me see. Choo.
That's when you drop the ball on those things. This is all Israelites. Nope.
All right.
That's all I'm saying. I don't want y'all to be getting that smoke like I having that smoke on me.
Oh, but, man, TikTok be out for us. It's all good.
Oh, okay.
Really,
Okay.
It's all good. Okay. So John 7:32, The Pharisees heard the crowd muttering these things about him, and the chief priests and the Pharisees sent officers to arrest him. Yahusha then said, I will be with you a little longer, then I am going to him who sent me. You will seek me, and you will not find me. Where I am, you cannot go. Then the Yahudim said to one another, where does this man intend to go, that we won't find him? Does he intend to go to the dispersion? Who's the dispersion? Those are the Jews.
Those are the Helleniste or whatever.
Among the Greeks.
Wow.
Yeah. Now I do want to. I want to go somewhere else though.
And teach the Greeks.
Yeah, I want to go one other place because we are talking about the New Testament. We got to remember the Tanakh too, the Old Testament.
You're right.
So in Joel, so I have 2 different versions here. One has 4:6, the other has 3:6. I don't know why one has an extra chapter there, but I'll read the first version, which I'm reading from the LEB, which is the
it should be the something English Bible.
Yeah, the Lexingham English Bible.
Yeah.
Right. So it says, and the sons of Judah and Jerusalem you sold to the sons of the Greeks in order to remove them from their border.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have a different version here, and this is the JPS.
Uh-oh.
It is what it is, but there's a reason why I'm using JPS.
I know, I'm just saying.
Yeah. It says, and you have sold the people of Judah and the people of Jerusalem to the Ionians, so that you have removed them far away from their homeland.
Ionians, another word.
Yeah. So the Ionians is actually what the Hebrews, what you would call a Greek person, Ionian or Iob. Like if you go into Genesis 10, where you look at the table of nations, and you go into Japheth. Huh? That was it's Yavon. Yeah, so Yavon, Ionian, Yavon is how you would say it in Hebrew. Ionian is how you would say it in Latin.
Yeah,
when you essentially transliterate the Hebrew into the Latin,
like Edom and Idumea.
Yeah. So they put Ionian, but Yavon would be how you would say it in Greek or in Hebrew.
Well, dang.
So that's actually what the people are called in their original language, in our original language.
So these are Jews?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because you can't. I mean, it's so you said the people of Jerusalem and Judah.
I just want to make sure, just for the audience.
Okay.
People in the chat might ask a question.
All right. So now we're moving on to the last word.
Heathen.
Okay. So heathen kind of is like if we go back to proselyte and stranger, you had the one that actually converts fully over, the one that lives among the people but doesn't really convert. The heathen is somebody who does not live amongst Israel at all. They live in another nation. They have another culture. They're doing other things.
They got another Elohim.
They got another Elohim, another God. They have everything. They're not of us at all. They're not even living amongst us. That's a heathen. So they are a totally different breed than the other two.
A heathen, like some old church folk would call people who weren't practicing or like, let's say, devout enough in their Christianity. Heathens, like technically, well, by definition, that's not a heathen. It's not that, because a heathen is someone who serves someone else. This is just a person who's disobedient.
Right. So in Jeremiah 10:2, it says, "Thus says Yahuwah, do not accustom unto the way of the nations. Do not accustom yourselves, and do not be afraid of the signs of heaven, for the nations are terrified of them or afraid by them." Some versions say, like the ESV says, "Learn not the way of the nations, nor be dismayed of the signs of the nations." But when you look up, I think in the KJV,
KJV is say heathen.
Right? It says heathen. So goyim, ha goyim, goy.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's where it gets a little interesting, because again, sometimes you're dealing with translation.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes they translate the word goyim as heathen, and again, you just gotta look at things and do a little bit more study to figure out what is the meaning behind this word, and not just sometimes always just take the English at face value.
Right. Yeah. So like in Genesis 10, where it says like the genealogies of the nations, the coastlands of the nations, you can say like the coastlands or the isles of the heathen. This is all Japheth. Where else? So even in Genesis 25:3, concerning Jacob and Esau, it says there are two nations.
Yes.
So you could say there are two heathens. I mean, it's one person won't say that.
if you're dealing with the translation,
Right.
Yeah.
So heathen and nation are interchangeable. That's what it seems like.
But if it's positive or negative,
Yeah,
it's going to depend on the context.
yeah.
Like what's being discussed about in that
Mhm.
in that chapter. But like this two nations, it can also be understood as children of light and children of darkness. So a heathen is also a child of darkness.
Goy is used over 500 times.
Yeah. Like I said, sometimes it's not even translated as heathen. Sometimes it's just translated as nation or nations. So again, you got to go behind the English sometimes.
Yeah.
If you're really trying to get a deeper understanding of that particular thing.
I see Chajak said something about Jews being of the southern tribe. There's a reason why the term Jew remained and why Hebrew and Israelite didn't hold. Is because the Jews were never taken over to the same capacity. So the term Jew came to apply to all Hebrews. So yeah, it has different meanings. It's a bloodline tribe of Judah. It's also a territory, like if you're from the southern kingdom, but it also applies to the entire Israelite people as well.
Today. So
because
originally it was not like
remained.
that. Yeah, originally it was specifically, again, just southern tribe. You were Yahudi, right? And then like he said, just over time, because the Yahudim remained and things didn't happen to them the same way. Eventually, especially among the other nations, they were just the Yahudim, and they might have still called them Hebrew or Israelite on occasion, but for the most part, they were the Yahudim. They, that's just what it was. So that just stuck. So as time went on, now you got Abraham being called a Jew. Well, Abraham was before David and he was before Judah. So how could he possibly be a Jew? But it's just how things happen sometimes.
So this is from the Shalom Hartman Institute. It says, how did the word Jew become identified with the Yahudim, the people? Like
the nation as a whole.
Yeah.
Because you said how the term Jew applies to the Jew.
Yeah. So so it does say like the use of the name Yehuda expanded following the separation from the kingdom of Israel, not only to the name of the tribe, but also to the kingdom of Judah, which in the southern kingdom created from the portions of Judah, Benjamin, and Simon and Shimeon or Shimon. The term Jew was not used as a collective name for the residents of the kingdom in the early stages. Other terms were used in participation. Men of Judah. Thus, for example, you have Judges 15 and 10. The first appearance of the word Jew in the Bible is in 2 Kings, or was that 2 Kings? 2 Kings 16:6. Its connotation, therefore, is identified to the men of Judah and drove the Jews from Elat. Over the time, the name replaced the earlier ones, though the meaning remained unchanged. In other words, the term Jew in this period was a person who originated from the kingdom of Judah. That's
where it started.
Yes, where it started. I'm looking for when it was identified with everybody.
So realistically,
here it is, right here. In the late Second Temple period, the dominant meaning of the word Jew continued to be an ethnic one, in its parallel connotation to the people of Israel. Coins from the period of Aristobulus I, Alexander, Janus, and Herod, for example, appear with the explicit inscription, Yehuda, Yohanathan, High Priest, Council of the Jews. Also in the wedding contract of Bathada.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Yeah. Beret Shimon from the year of 128 CE, there appears according to the law of Moses and Yahudi. The similar phrase is found in the wedding contract at the time of Hillel the elder from the 1st century. Hillel. Is that it?
Yeah, Hillel was one of the was one of the teachers.
Well, this is a different Hillel.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, because he's the 1st century. That guy was a little older.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
It says, in any case, the word Yisrael or Yasharal, Israel, however you want to say it, remains the most common term for referring to the people for many years after Tanakhic period. Alongside it, there was less common usage of the term Jew, and both continued to be their ethnic culture, historically and religious connotation. As the question when the term Jew gained became the word became the word most identified with the meaning, we don't possess a clear answer. They said we don't know.
Yeah, that was what I say. Realistically, you're not going to get an answer for that because it just kind of happened over time.
Yeah, but we can see within the in the Brit Hadashah of the New Testament that Hebrew is used in there.
Yeah.
And it's interchangeable with Jew, and it's distinct from Hellenistic.
Yeah.
Or Greek. It's very distinct. So, and then even when it says the diaspora, they're not identified as Hellenists. They're identified as the diaspora. Like when they're in Jews, like the diaspora among the Greeks. So it's showing a difference right there. So I would say that. That's what I've seen.
Yeah, those words are interchangeable. Hebrew and Jew.
Yeah.
Hebrew, Jew, Israelite. Yeah.
Yeah. So even though their place of origin is specific today, it's just pretty interchangeable.
It's just what became of the terms, how they came to be used.
Yeah. What else we got?
Nations.
We went over that already.
Yeah. Sojourner. I think that's pretty much a
that's a ger.
Yeah, that's a ger. So we talked about that.
Sojourner. Well, you know what? Let me see.
Well, sojourner, I think it is pretty much a ger.
I think it's ger.
Yeah, it's pretty much a ger.
Who sojourn among you.
Yeah.
I think both of those are being translated from the same word, sojourner and foreigner.
Yeah.
I can't spell. Leviticus 19:33. Because you were strangers in the land of Egypt, which means you was a different nation in the land of Egypt. You weren't Egyptians. Let me see. 19. I said 33, right?
Yep.
This would be so much easier with ChatGPT.
See, ChatGPT, if you put some time into learning things, occasionally you'll find that the information gives you is bad.
Yeah, it's not always the best.
It's not always the best.
That's why you gotta
it's
filter.
Tool.
You gotta filter your research.
Yeah, it's
you gotta ask it. Say, hey, I want these sources, these type of sources.
Right.
Yeah. He's gotta know how to ask, man.
I would start there. I would use it supplementary as like a quick starting point, but check it.
Yeah. And if you're really trying to get some deep information, ChatGPT ain't gonna give it to you.
You just need you just need something to just scratch.
You need a book.
Yeah.
Go to a library and get you a book.
You can make a book.
What's to say?
Anyway, so and when the sojourner sojourns with you in the land, you do not oppress him. So it says, and if he dwells, the word for dwell is yager, and it is the Hebrew Strong's 1481, and it's a gur, abide, a symbol, to dwell, to gather, to inhabit, to sojourn.
They're living among you.
Yeah.
They're living among you.
That's what a sojourner is, someone who lives among you. Now, I guess a sojourner could go with either one that is fully converted and one that's just visiting. Depends
on the context.
I was just saying, like,
because again, we're dealing with translation.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the issue. We're dealing with the translation. So
simply, you're either a permanent one by blood, born into the nation, you're passing through,
or you're outside of it altogether.
Or you're staying there permanently, but you don't convert. There's really only about 3 different categories.
Yeah, but if you stay there permanently but you don't convert, you're still pretty much in the same boat as somebody who's just passing through. They treat you the same. You just got a house in the basement now.
Toshav. So, I got a question. You know how it says like the strangers will be servants, and you can take their children as an inheritance, stuff like that?
Yeah.
Will that be the ger that sojourns among you, or the proselyte, or will that be the toshav?
Well, first let's pull it up. Leviticus 25:44 through 46. So let me see if I can pull it up in a different version too, because I don't want to just have this one version here. Actually, you're gonna need to start a little earlier than that.
Start at 40.
Yeah, probably start at about 40.
A hired servant, a sojourner, he shall be with you until the end of the Jubilee year and shall serve you.
That's your brother. In 39. So the servant in 40 is your brother.
Yeah, so
Yeah, all this is
That's
relative.
gonna go to your brother and to the woman, your sister.
yeah, so this is 44. So yeah, you wouldn't need to start at 44. So as for your, it says your slave here, but it should say servant. As for your servant and your servant woman who are yours from the nations that are all around you,
Which
from them you may buy a servant or a servant woman. You may buy also from the children of the temporary residents who are dwelling with you as aliens, and from their clan who are with you. So essentially, anybody that is not converted in, you can buy from. That would be in that time.
No.
So if it was the sojourner living among you and they decided, hey, I got too many kids, take a few of them.
Yeah.
Or if you were just on a journey somewhere else and they decided to sell some of them out to you, either one of those works. The one who actually converts, they have to be treated as a native of the land.
They gotta be treated like an Israelite.
They got to be treated like an Israelite.
So they're identified as an Israelite.
They're pretty much.
Yeah.
Now the other two, not so much.
You heard that?
Right, but the one that converted in, they have to be treated like an Israelite.
So in Leviticus 25 and 45, it says, moreover, the son of the strangers who dwell among you, this is the Toshav. This is Ha-Toshav or Toshavim. Yeah, these are not converts. They got their green card.
Yeah. Now I want to add again, this is not saying that if you just saw a stranger living among you, are they a convert? No, and you bust them over the head and then take them to your house. That's not what it's saying. Again, this was a willful thing. Somebody just said, hey, I'm selling my daughter or I'm selling my son. And there was reasons why people did this in ancient times. There were reasons people did this in ancient times.
You needed money. The same reason why if people fall on hard times, that they might sell furniture in the house to sell their car or they sell their house.
Or another reason, because they know the kid might be better off living as a servant with you than being with them.
Yep, they might have more opportunities.
Yeah, so
that's hard to hear for some people.
You can provide a better life.
Yeah, again, it was the ancient world. They lived a different life, and
we have that now. With let's say,
but we don't call it slavery. That's the difference. Yeah, it's a name difference.
But we carry the practice to where and my family, my cousins were raised by their grandparents. Yeah, because they're more suitable than their own parents. Yeah, so they're raised. So I'm talking people in their 50s and 60s still raising little kids. So it was just better for them.
Yeah. So again, this. The main reason I want to say that is because you do have some people that believe that even though there will be a servitude in the new kingdom, they think that when they see, Gentiles going to be serving us, they think it's going to be the same thing that we went through. And what we went through was not righteous at all. So this was not, what was supposed to happen was not something where they just were capturing the residents or saying, you can go over there and kidnap. That's not what it's saying. Yeah. It's just saying if they were sold to you, or if you were able to acquire them for whatever reason, those you don't necessarily have to keep under the 7-year rule that you do with an Israelite. Yeah. That's all it's saying.
But what would also happen, because the nation of Israel has a standard, even when someone was coming into your nation, like you bought them or they worked for you, they would eventually convert.
A lot of times.
Yeah, because you would see how blessed the nation was. You would see how they operated and treated one another. You would not remain separate from that forever.
Yeah.
All right. So we got
but sojourner and foreigner are the same.
Yeah, I would say that pretty much.
They are the same thing. Some translations say sojourner, some say foreigner.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Next slide. When did the northern kingdom Israel return from Assyrian captivity?
They never did.
They didn't.
They never did. There was I think it was in Isaiah when he's talking about speak to the isles.
Yeah, there's certain there. So that he mentions the places that they were at.
Those nations with the nations that happened at Pentecost, the same nations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
they never returned.
Let's see. That's Isaiah. Was that 49?
Yeah, I think it might be. It might be.
It's the second half, definitely.
What about the first half?
Well, no, it might be in 20. I don't remember. Hold on.
It's not the middle half. Yep. It says, "Listen to me, O coastlands."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't.
Isles.
But it doesn't name.
Isles.
It doesn't name those places.
No, there is a one where he does start naming
there's another
places.
one where he listing them things down. And then
Yeah, like
Behold-
Tuhar, Mohad, some
Yeah. The rivers beyond Cush. Let me just.
Yeah.
Behold, these shall come from afar, and behold, these from the north and from the west, and these from the land of
Isaiah 18.
Isaiah 18. So it's first half.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, you know, it's closer to 20. So I had it.
I just
really.
ain't read
You're
it so
right.
long. I don't.
Beyond the rivers of Cush.
Mm-hmm. That's what you want.
That's all we got is rivers of Cush,
Hold on. Let me pull up the whole chapter.
which send ambassadors by the sea, and the vessels of the papyrus on the waters. Go, you swift messengers, to a nation tall and smooth, to a people feared near and far, a nation mighty and conquering, whose land the rivers divide. I don't think it's the same thing.
Isaiah, call my daughters from.
I got where they settled, where the Assyria settled them at in 2 Kings 18.
Yeah.
So that is in 2 Kings 18. We're specifically looking for Isaiah because Isaiah actually does mention he specifically says, I'm going to call my daughters or my children from this place and from this place and from this place.
Oh, okay. He's bringing them back. Right. Okay.
Yeah, and from beyond the rivers, and he's specifically talking about the Northern Kingdom at that time.
Fire in 2021, bro. I was already hit.
All right. Isaiah 11:11. In that day, Yahuwah will extend his hand yet a second time to recover the remnant that remains of his people from Assyria, from Egypt, Pathros,
There it is.
Elam, Shinar, Hatham, and the coastlands of the sea. He will raise a signal to the nations, for the nations, and will assemble the banished of Israel and gather the dispersed of Yehuda. And from the four corners of the earth, the jealousy of Ephraim shall depart, and those who harass Judah. Okay, yeah. Anyway, so that's where it is right there. So
I know that would.
So
That with Pentecost, and you'll see some things add up.
you said Pentecost, right? So that's Acts 2. I do know there was two dispersions of Israel from Assyria. I think it was like what? It was a total of 2 different kings that dispersed them. I know Shalmaneser was one of them, and it was another one before him.
So are you talking about when he actually, because the second one, he actually, when he removed them, he put other people in.
Yeah.
And they became the Samaritans.
Yeah.
So before that, they
became who?
They became the Samaritans.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the Samaritans, because you have that I forgot exactly where it is. I think it's in Kings, where he brought other people that king removed Israel, sent them throughout, the Assyrian nations and everything like that. Then he put other people there, and the other people were worshiping other Elohim. And then Yahuwah sent lions. Yahuwah sent lions to mess up, to kill the people. And so they were like, "Yo, these lions out here killing us." So the king said, "All right, go ahead and get you one of their priests." So they got a Levite, and then the Levite came and he taught them the ways of Yahuwah. And they feared Yahuwah. It says they feared Yahuwah, but they still did their gods. So they did both. And it's almost like Yahuwah didn't mess with them after that. Like he kind of just allowed them to be for a period.
And if you ever go into the New Testament and wonder why the Yahudim and the Samaritans were separated and they didn't like each other, it starts here.
Mm-hmm.
Josephus talks about it, where essentially what would happen is whenever the Yahudim, the Jews, were having a hard time, the Samaritans were like, "Oh, we don't know these people." But when everything is going right with the Jews, oh yeah, they are people. We cousins.
Yeah.
So that's why the Jews didn't like the Samaritans because of that. And then also the Samaritans, they started saying that the Jews were actually messing up the scripture, and they pretty much don't accept anything past Deuteronomy. And their version of the Bible,
they got their own thing.
Yeah, their version of the Torah essentially replaces Mount Zion for Mount Gerizim. So again, when you go to the lady at the well, when the Yahushua met the lady at the well, she said, well, our father said we're going to worship at this mountain. Your father said it's going to be at that mountain. That was the beef she was talking about, because the Yahudim was saying Zion, the Samaritans were saying Gerizim.
All right. So, like I said, Isaiah 11:11, it says, from his people from Assyria, Egypt, Pathros, Cush, Elam, Shinar, and Hamath. Acts 2 says Parthians, Medes, Elamites, residents of Mesopotamia, Judea, Cappadocia, Pontus, Asia, Perga,
Definitely expanded from Isaiah, but
Pamphylia, Egypt,
it includes those same lands.
Parts of Libya belonging to the Cyrene, visitors from Rome, both Jews and proselytes, Cretans and Arabs. So yeah,
it's the same lands. It's just time.
I mean, that's the time between Isaiah and Joel was hundreds of years.
Yeah, but still generalized area.
Yeah,
around the same. You have a lot of similarities. So yeah. All right. From these passages, was Paul afraid to die?
Let me see what.
And y'all may not even. I don't know if y'all came through, y'all journey through One West Israelism.
I didn't.
You almost did.
Never. Never.
Yeah, I didn't.
Never.
I didn't.
So I put this PDF. I had them in mind.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
For this, so when I'm asking, is he afraid to die? It's because there was that Paul tried to save face
with Agrippa.
And he was scared to die, and so he lied.
He lied to Agrippa.
Okay. All right.
He lied to Agrippa, right?
That's my first time ever hearing that. So that's wild to me.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say this much. In terms of was Paul afraid to die? I'm not Paul. So I'm not gonna say whether the man was afraid to die or not. The question for me wouldn't be, was he afraid to die? The question would be, did Paul have enough integrity to stand by what he believed to be the truth and say that, even if he thought he was going to die and was afraid?
The question shouldn't be, is he afraid? Is he willing to if necessary?
Yeah, because there's plenty of people that did stuff knowing they were going to die and were terrified, but they thought that whatever they were standing for. Perfect example in Maccabees, second Maccabees. I'm 100% certain that every single one of those boys were terrified before that man cut their arms and legs off and threw them in a pan and fried them alive.
Lying,
but
you're supposed to be lying if you say you're afraid to die, even if you're full of conviction.
Yeah,
because even if you have full belief, it's still something about it that still might shake you a little bit.
The Messiah himself.
Yeah, he was shaking.
He's the Messiah.
He was sweating.
He was sweating bullets.
Blood.
Father, look, man, I know what we talked about, but hey, if there's any way,
can we read the go?
That's a great point.
Like, look.
So if he was afraid, I don't know, man. We not, or the ones before us are not so great that they weren't afraid. So it's like that's a very human, natural feeling, emotion to feel fear.
Yes. So
what do you do in that fear?
Is what you do in spite of the fear. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you say that he lied to Agrippa, what you're essentially saying is that he lacked a level of integrity to save his own life. And keep in mind, every single one of the apostles, except for one, died horrible deaths, including Paul. Yeah. So basically what you're saying is he saved himself just to get beheaded later on anyway.
That man got stoned.
Yeah, he got stoned in the book of Acts before he got stoned already. If it wasn't for the fact that the apostles came over and looked at him, he would have been dead right there. So that doesn't make a lot of...
I want to read something real quick.
Yeah,
Shaul was such a real one that Peter praised him in his writings.
Yeah, so that doesn't make a lot of sense. But again, you're also, I understand because of what their doctrine is, why they would say that, but you're still attacking the man's integrity by saying that.
So look, I'm gonna read this is a little bit lengthy. This is Acts 28. Actually, I read this for the first time the other day. Acts 28, starting at verse 17. And after 3 days, he called together the local leaders of the Jews. This is Paul. Paul's in Rome. He called together the local leaders of the Jews. And when they had gathered, he said to them, brothers, though I had done nothing against our people or the customs of our fathers, yet I was delivered as a prisoner from Jerusalem to the hands of the Romans. So first and foremost, Paul did not go against Torah
or customs.
Right? So I know there's some Israelites that are, starting to turn away from Paul, but just it shows it right here. He said himself that no, they wanted to. I'll keep going. It says, when they had examined me, they wished to set me at liberty or to set me free because there was no reason for the death penalty in my case. But because the Jews objected, I was compelled to appeal to Caesar. If you read the account with Agrippa, when Agrippa says, you might have persuaded me to be a Messianic or to be a Christian, he's like, well, I want everybody here except for these chains to be just like me. They basically said, we ain't got no fault with him, but because he asked to appeal to Caesar,
we can't do anything.
We got to send him. We got to send him to Caesar. But they would have let me go. They would let him go. It says, because the Jews, I was compelled to appeal to Caesar, though I had no charge to bring against my nation. For this reason, therefore, I have asked to see you and to speak with you, since it is because of the hope of Israel I am wearing these chains. And they said to him, these are the leaders of the Jews that are in Rome, we have received no letters from Judea about you, and none of the brothers coming here has reported or spoken any evil about you. But we desire to hear from you what your views are, for with regard to this sect, we know that everywhere it is spoken against. That's interesting. They heard about the sect, but they ain't hear about Shaul. When they had appointed a day for him, they came to him at his lodging in great number. From morning till evening, he expounded to them, testifying to the kingdom of Elohim and trying to convince them about Yahusha, both from the law and the law of Moses and from the prophets. And some were convinced by what he said, but others disbelieved. These are the Jews. And disagreeing among themselves, they departed after Paul had made this one statement. The Holy Spirit was right in saying to your fathers, through Isaiah the prophet, go to this people and say, you will indeed hear, but never understand. You will indeed see, but never perceive. For this people's heart has grown dull, and with their ears they can barely hear. Their eyes have closed, lest they should see with their eyes, hear with their ears, and understand with their hearts, and turn, and I would heal them. Therefore, let it be known to you that this salvation of Elohim has been sent to the Gentiles. They will listen. And he lived there for 2 whole years at his own expense and welcomed all who came to him, proclaiming the kingdom of Elohim and teaching them about the master Yahushua HaMashiach with all boldness and without hindrance. And that's the end of Acts.
He lived there at his own expense.
That's what it says.
Okay. So he had a job.
I was just about to say so. He had money.
Okay.
So it says, or in his own hired dwelling.
Okay.
I was about to say he received donations and support.
Okay.
So,
yeah, that too. But he was also a tent maker, so I'm pretty sure he had a job.
Yeah.
So yeah. What else you got out?
We're gonna have to do the Agrippa. This is slow. Like I say, this ain't really designed for y'all, to be honest.
That's fine.
But it's good for y'all to go through them, and the people see somebody else saying it, rather than just me. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah, sometimes.
And I didn't compel y'all to come up here. Like I didn't, hey man, do this. And I seen y'all breakdowns, and I knew that we were kind of on the same level and on the same, same mind frame toward it, and get y'all to come up here. And I picked y'all and say, hey man, y'all come on up here. You can do it. No, I've been waiting for everybody.
I reached out. I saw it. I was like, hey, let's talk about it.
yeah. I remember you brought it. I said, yeah, let's
talk about it.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah. And it's real because we eating.
Mm-hmm.
Some people would have been, yeah, hold on, tell him we got another hour. No. So I hope he don't mind us chewing.
No, that's not an issue. So with these verses, it's just trying to get one to see or to stand on who the Gentiles are in these verses.
Mm-hmm.
And once they stand on who the Gentiles are in these verses, the next slide, these verses are used again, and you're going to have to use the same, you know, one would have to use the same methodology, being that the verses are being quoted over. And you know, I'm not going to say one has to, um, because for me, there's some points where I see things are used a little differently than they were quoted in the Old Testament. More of a use like we would use today, like how we use the Old Testament today for certain examples of us in modern times. I can see Paul doing that also. So I wouldn't stand on it, but some people do. Some people, most of One West Israelism, they're going to stand on whatever that verse was quoted. And I'll give you the example. The strongest example is the Romans. What is it? 9:24, 9:25, 9:26.
Pull that up.
Romans 9:25.
Yeah.
9:25. And I feel that Paul is using that for Gentiles. But
that,
you know, it's quoted from Hosea, which is Israelites.
Is that Esau have I loved?
No.
Okay.
So, excuse me. Romans 9:24. Well, so that 22. What if Elohim, desiring to show his wrath and to make known his power, has endured with much patience vessels of wrath prepared for destruction, in order to make known the riches of his esteem for vessels of mercy, which he has prepared beforehand for his esteem, even us, whom he has called, not from the Jews only, but also from the Gentiles? Question mark. As indeed he has said in Hosea, those who are not my people, I will call my people, and her who is not my beloved, I will call beloved. And in the very place where I was said to them, you are not my people, there they shall be called sons of the living Elohim. Isaiah cries also concerning Israel. Though the number of the sons of Israel as be the sand of the sea, only a remnant of them will be saved. For Yahuwah will carry out his sentence upon the earth fully and without delay. And Isaiah also predicted the saying, if Yahuwah of hosts had not left us less offspring, we would have been like Sodom and become like Gomorrah.
So how exactly are they using that?
So they tie that to the joint. I think it's Hosea when he's talking about, it's like lo ami. He was like, not my people,
because he's talking
Right.
about the Northern Kingdom.
Yeah. They're
Right,
using
correct.
that context specifically to Israel. But what book is that? But what Shaul does, he takes these texts and frames it in a different light, like
Which is very common during that time.
So
like,
then he says this: what shall we say then? That Gentiles who did not pursue righteousness have attained it, that is a righteousness that is by faith, but that Israel, who pursued a law that would lead to righteousness, did not succeed in reaching that law. Why? Because they did not pursue it by faith, as if it were based on works. They have stumbled over the stumbling stone, as it is written, behold, I am laying in Zion a stone of stumbling, a rock of offense, and whoever believes in him will not be put to shame.
So he's making a distinction between Israel and these other nations. And dang, I just had it. Is it in the same book where he says those who have not the law, they do it naturally?
Yeah, they are law unto themselves.
Is that also in Romans?
That's in Romans as well.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that can't be Israel.
It literally can't.
That can't be them.
I would say, even in this verse, in verse 30, it says that the Gentiles who do not pursue righteousness have obtained it. That is a righteousness that's belief, but that Israel who pursued a law that would lead to righteousness did not succeed in reaching the law. Are you saying that the Gentiles, that the northern kingdom who did not pursue righteousness have obtained it? That is a righteousness that is by faith, but that the northern kingdom, Israel, who pursued a law that would lead to righteousness did not succeed in by the reaching of the law? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, because he said Israel there, so that makes it very specific. Just in case somebody wants to say, "Well, Israel is," he's specifically saying Israel.
He said
Israel.
Yeah.
It's everybody.
Yeah.
So he's comparing everybody in Israel to everybody who ain't. That can't be. That can't be that can't be Israelites.
Yeah.
Again, what you said with he's reframing it.
Yeah, he does that a lot, dude.
The whole New Testament does that a lot.
Yeah, he did that a lot.
Yeah, but just so that way people don't think that's a weird thing.
Yeah.
That was very common in the Second Temple time period for them to do. Even outside of the New Testament, a lot of the rabbis and teachers, Paul was a Pharisee.
Yeah.
So he was taught to teach like a Pharisee.
Even the way he reframed the seed of Eve overcoming the seed of the serpent. How if you read the Old Testament, it seems to be one thing, but he frames it in a new light. He's like, no, he's talking about the Messiah. Yeah. So it's so that is common.
I mean, even in Matthew where he says, my first I've called out of Israel, I've called out of Egypt. If you go look at the original context, he's talking specifically about Israel. But when you look at Matthew, they reapply that to the Messiah. Yeah. That was very common back in those. That was a common teaching tactic. We would call it like a metaphor or parallelism today. It's just a teaching tactic. That's all. So they did quote Isaiah, though, right? He did quote from Isaiah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Correct. So I want to read something in Isaiah here. So this is Isaiah 19, and I am going to start at verse 19. So in that day, there will be an altar to Yahuwah in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar to Yahuwah at its borders. It will be a sign and a witness to Yahuwah of hosts in the land of Egypt. When they cry to Yahuwah because of oppressors, he will send them a savior and defender and deliver them. And Yahuwah will make himself known to the Egyptians, and the Egyptians will know Yahuwah in that day and worship with sacrifice and offering. And they will make vows to Yahuwah and perform them. And Yahuwah will strike Egypt, striking and healing, and they will return to Yahuwah. Pause. It says the Egyptians will return to Yahuwah. That's interesting. And he will listen to their pleas for mercy and heal them. Mm-hmm. In that day, there will be a highway from Egypt to Assyria, and Assyria will come into Egypt, and Egypt into Assyria, and the Egyptians will worship with the Assyrians. In that day, Israel will be the third with Egypt and Assyria, a blessing in the midst of the earth, whom Yahuwah of hosts has blessed, saying, blessed be Egypt, my people, and Assyria, the work of my hands, and Israel, my inheritance.
There is no way in hell of it you can argue that that's all Israel.
And even if you want to go up and say, well, yeah, he said oppressors, that is talking about the Israelites in Egypt. But eventually he also says, after I do this to them, they're going to turn and worship me.
Also, some of the Egyptians left with them in the Exodus.
Oh, not only Egyptians, Cushites, Canaanites, because it said they left with a mixed multitude. Mixed multitude. If you go look in Egypt, not only were the Egyptians there were Nubians there. There were Canaanites there. There were a lot of people living in Egypt. The Israelites were not the only people in slavery in Egypt at that time. So when there's a mixed multitude, they left with a lot of people other than Israel.
Even that is reframed in Revelation when it says mixed multitude, is talking about from end to end. As opposed to like a locality of nations. Yes.
Yeah. So
even that right there is reframed by John.
So I know different One West camps teach different things about the nation. Some of them teach, they're just all going to be in slavery. There will be a servitude, but it's not all of them just going to be in slavery. We can go to Ezekiel to prove that. And 44. No, where you have in the foreigners who are actually inheriting among the Israelites.
Those would be the Ger.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be the Toshav.
Yeah. So you have that. You have the concept of grafting in. You cannot graft in. If you actually know anything about farming, if you have a tree, right, and you break off a branch.
This is fake, but the concept.
If I took this and I broke a branch off of this
and put it over here,
and I threw this away, I got a branch over there and I put it in. That's called grafting in. So when it says that you are grafted in, and the natural branches are Israelites. The ones being grafted in from the wild olive trees are other nations. They're wild because they're not Israelites. They're coming from heathen nations where their practices, not Torah, are wild.
So you're taking something from another area and
moving it.
We also have it in surgery called skin grafting.
Oh, yeah.
We got the evidence of these things in our society from top to bottom, bro.
But somebody
I can take my back skin and put it on my face. It ain't supposed to be there,
Yes.
But somebody would say, well, that's still part of the same body.
In that case, but the grafting that the farming grafting, that definitely is not part of the same body. It is.
That's true.
Yeah, that's coming from another tree. That's again, and then it goes back. It says if they were snapped off and you were grafted in, how much easier is it for you to be snapped off and then be grafted back in?
I can graft your skin on me.
That's disgusting. We're gonna move past that.
But it still applies. It's not the same body.
That's true because you can have a cadaver.
Yeah, I understand, but we really get into some weird territory now.
No, I mean it's parallel.
I get you.
It's analogy.
As a matter of fact,
dark sayings.
He's part dead. I'm part dead.
Hey, we gonna move on now.
Come on.
Go ahead, ask another question.
So we both
you know, y'all brought up the Romans 11, and that's one of the slides I have. If they can fit those in there, like the natural tree, the broken branches, the natural branches that were broken, and the wild olive tree.
Yeah,
that's great.
You just answered that. Yeah. So
right,
because it's gonna be hard, and they don't understand. It's gonna be hard to run that down if you're missing some of the components. If you're saying, because some groups say, well, the northern kingdom's not there at all. It's just the southern kingdom. Then you only have two pieces. You got Gentiles and southern kingdom to try to navigate the broken branch, the regular, the regular tree, and then the wild olive tree. You're gonna have to double up on something and try to navigate that. It's gonna be problematic. And that's why I just set that up to answer those questions. Really for them to see, wait a minute, and then where's the northern kingdom? Where did they come from, etc.? Where did they go? Did they come back? Just for them to look at it and say, well, wait a minute, I may have to, and even y'all talking about the mixed multitude, man, I just seen Captain Tazariak with a debate with brother Dwayne, TikToker that be on
talking about debunking Hebrew Israelites,
debunking Hebrew Israelites, right?
Yeah,
and he said the mixed multitude was a mixture of Israelites.
No.
How?
No.
Okay, you know what?
Came out of Israel.
No,
that meant Egypt. They came out of Egypt.
Yeah, that didn't make any
mixture of Israelites.
But if you look at how it's worded, in fact, can you pull it up? Because I'm very certain it says.
Worded, I don't even.
Yeah, the way it's worded, I'm pretty sure it says all Israel, and then it also makes a whole separate sentence and says a mixed multitude came out with them.
Oh, that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Time out.
Pull it up.
He's going.
Man, listen, that brother Dwayne that made like 2-3 different videos on that clip.
Yeah, can you just pull that up in Exodus? Because I'm pretty certain that's how it's worded.
It is.
Yeah.
That is.
I can't say my family and a mixed multitude and still my family.
Yeah.
Because my family covers my family.
Yeah, so my family came and also some of my friends. Yeah. So your friends and your family? No, my family and my friends. Yeah, your friends is your family. That's your other cousins. No. My family, who I'm blood related to, and these other people I'm cool with, but I'm not related to them. But you got to be related to them. How? I'm telling you, they're my friends. They're not my family. So,
all right, hold on. Okay, that's 12. Damn.
Well, just pull it up. A mixed multitude.
Yeah, no. I was just saying, like, yeah, that's all in the Pesach. Like, yeah. So it's like they got the law of the Pesach, like the mixed multitude did.
Oh yeah, that is another thing too, because the mixed multitude was at the mountain, and he said he called all of them Israel.
Right.
So it's the particular verse. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just saying that's just something he called all of them Israel when they were at the mountain, even though it was Israelites and the mixed multitude.
And they all got the blood sprinkled on them.
And they all got the blood sprinkled on them.
And they all said, everything you say, I will do.
They when they were at the
I mean, we have a similar thing now. We have multiple ethnic groups here, but we're all called Americans.
Yeah, when they were worshiping the golden calf, they all had to drink the water. And if we can also start going a little bit more into that specific people that actually were not Israelites, that the Most High mentioned by name, makes covenants with them, and they're not Israelites. And this is all into we're not even getting into the this is all Torah, Old Testament prophets. and they're not Israelites. He's making covenants, made a covenant with the Cushite and Jeremiah.
Man,
So,
I hate to bring up
Jeremiah 35.
from the
Yeah. He actually,
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know if I want to bring that. Well, I'll let
Yeah.
y'all bring out a few of them. I was gonna be on my part too, but
Yeah.
y'all can go
you
through a
can
couple of
got
them.
it. You can bring out if you got it.
No. Y'all can go through them. Y'all can go through them.
Okay.
Exodus 12 and 37. And the people of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 men on foot, besides women and children. A mixed multitude also went up with them,
also.
and very much livestock, both flocks and herds.
Israel's already accounted for. The men, the women, and the children. And the mixed multitude also.
And livestock and herds.
Yeah. It's a separate categorization. Separate.
So here's a question: Joshua and Caleb.
Oh man.
Joshua and Caleb.
We done did that a few times.
Yeah, we've done it on our podcast a few times, but Caleb was a Kenizzite.
Oh,
What son of Jacob was Kenaz?
Son of Jacob?
Yeah.
He wasn't a son of Jacob.
Oh, he wasn't. Who was he a son of?
Ashu.
Crazy.
Oh, man.
Esau.
Yeah, he wasn't an Israelite. And
oh man.
yeah, and if you think that, oh no, you're just making that up, go to either Joshua or Judges where it talks about Caleb and look at how it words some things. It says
You can trace it through the bloodline
Yeah.
of Genesis and it'll take you.
Yeah, and it'll take you right to it. And if you look at specifically in, I believe it's in Joshua, it says, for Caleb followed Yahuwah, the God of Israel, wholeheartedly. Now we got to ask the question.
Caleb the Kenizzite or something like that?
Yeah. So
That's not what you call
It was
Yeah.
he was called his name was Caleb, son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite.
The Kenizzite.
Or son of Jephunneh.
yeah.
Yeah.
But Joshua, anyway.
Yeah. So but my point is, why would it make that specific point? He worshiped the God of Israel if he was already an Israelite and Yahuwah was his Elohim already.
That is never said for Israelites.
That's never said for an Israelite.
It's always said that for someone else.
So and then of course Ruth. I know there's a debate about
Oh,
Ruth.
yeah.
But here's the funny thing about the Ruth being an Israelite thing. If you actually trace the history of that claim that Ruth was actually an Israelite, it actually stems from a white guy. Yeah, that's interesting. But
another one that's not known is that Job was an Edomite king. Read the last
in the Septuagint
of Job in the Septuagint and say he was an Edomite king.
Yeah. So yeah, he wasn't an Israelite, and even if you want to add more evidence of that, just look at his age.
And historians and scholars said that he was alive during the time of the patriarchs.
Yeah.
So he was definitely not he was in a separate land.
Yeah, just look at his age. There's no way that he was during the time of Moses and everything else living to be that old.
He was before the law of Sinai.
Yeah.
Right, with them sacrificing, them doing the sacrifice itself for the family.
Yeah, and then of course Uriah the Hittite.
Dude, it's in the name, bro.
Yeah, he's literally called the Hittite. Right. So because he was a Hittite. So yeah, it's don't get me wrong, there is an importance to the people, right? We have a purpose, but it's not like it's strictly the bloodline and that's it. We have to look at things from the way ancient people would look at it. It was a family, and just like with any family, you can adopt people. Same thing.
Joshua 14, starting at verse 13. Then Joshua blessed him and gave Hebron to Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, for an inheritance. Therefore, Hebron became the inheritance of Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, to this day, because he wholly followed Yahuwah, the Elohim of Israel.
No Israelite was talked about. They followed the Elohim of Israel.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
That only happens when you're dealing with a foreigner.
The Elohim of my fathers or our fathers.
So I did had a conversation about like the whole Ruth thing. Ruth it's actually pretty long. So Ruth, if you try to get the history of it, you have to go to the time of Judges, right? So during the time of Judges, you had a Moabite king that was there, that rose up against Israel and everything like that. But specifically, what it says about the Moabite king, that when Israel cried out and Yahuwah rose up a savior for them, it says that the Israelites killed about 10,000 men of valor, strong men. So basically, all the men concerning Moab got wiped out. It doesn't say women, it doesn't say children, it doesn't say people, it just says men. And also, you have in Joshua the plains of Moab. So the plains of Moab and the country of Moab is the same exact thing. In Joshua, was it Reuben, Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh?
Yeah, they took some of that land.
They got the plains of Moab. I think that's in Joshua. Joshua was very old at this time, so he was about to die. So it says that there were two nations that were still there that dwelt among the children of Israel. Let me see if I can get it real quick, because this is how Moabites were there during the time of Judges, because Israel didn't wipe them all out.
They were right beside them.
Yeah, I mean, it was a couple tribes that had problems where they just decided to go somewhere else. They didn't even want to fight them like that.
Right. It's in Joshua.
They was scared pretty much.
Yeah, it's in Joshua 13. So it says, starting at verse 8, it says, with the other half of the tribe of Manasseh, the Reubenites and the Gadites received their inheritance, which Moses gave them beyond the Jordan eastward, as Moses, the servant of Yahuwah, gave them. From Arior, which is, it gives the whole entire thing. Verse 11, it says this, and Gilead and the region of Gesherite and Maccathites, and all Mount Hermon, and all of Bashan to Salecha, all the kingdom of Og and Bashan, who reigned in Ashtaroth and Edrei. He alone was left for the remnant of the Rephaim. These Moses had struck and driven out. Yet the people of Israel did not drive out the Geshurites or the Maccathites, but Gesher and Maccath dwelt in the midst of Israel to this day. There were still Moabites there. This is how we get the Moabite king rising up and going against them. And I think that's in Judges, I want to say 2. It's early. No, it's actually 3. Yeah, so Judges 3 and 12. And the people of Israel again did what was evil in the sight of Yahuwah, and Yahuwah strengthened Eglon, the king of Moab, against Israel. So then going down, it says in verse 28, and he said to them, follow me, for Yahuwah has given your enemies, the Moabites, into your hand. So they went down after him and seized the fords of the Jordan against the Moabites, and did not allow anyone to pass over. And they killed at that time about 10,000 of the Moabites, all strong, able-bodied men. Not a man escaped. So Moab was subdued or humbled that day under the hand of Israel, and the land had rest for 80 years. All the men were killed. The women and children were left. So this is how you get Ruth going being up there. So that's to show that Ruth was a Moabite. She's not an Israelite.
I'm gonna throw a little wrench in it. So if they were among them,
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't have been, let's say, pure blood. There would have been some mixing.
Well, nah, because they couldn't have. They wouldn't have mixed with them. It doesn't say that they mixed with them. It doesn't say they mixed with the Moabites like the men and women did. It doesn't say that in terms of the Gesher and.
Well, as far as like the Moabite women, if all the men were killed, the women would have died off unless they reproduced.
Yeah, some of the men wouldn't have got them.
Well, hold on. That was war, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So in war, we have a commandment that says
shave your head.
That yeah, shave them bald. If you are in war and you see one that you like, you have to go through the mourning process, which involves shaving and clipping the nails in the 30 days. After that mourning process, yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Or like the Amber Rose. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like,
so that is a possibility.
That's what I'm saying. They would have had a miss, or they would have died out. They would have went extinct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we take the the claim that Ruth was a Moabite, because she specifically says, "Your people will be my people.
Yes.
Your Elohim will be my Elohim." Because if Ruth is an Israelite, then what about the other girl?
They don't talk like that.
What about
the other girl left?
What about the other
girl left and went back to her people.
So who did she go? Who did she go to? She went to the Reubenites?
No, she went to other Israelites that I guess weren't worshiping Yah, which doesn't make sense because Yah is the Elohim of Israel. Yeah. So it's not making it has to make sense in just logical sense, just basic sense. Even
with the times Israel worshiped other Elohim, they still knew who theirs was. It wasn't strange. It still wasn't new knowledge to them. Yeah, they
knew that Yah was their Elohim, and even when they were worshiping other Elohims, they still were worshiping Yah. The problem was they were worshiping them alongside Yah.
As soon as they got slapped around a little bit, sorry.
Yeah, they never said, "Well, hold on, why we got to come back to you?" They always said, "Oh yeah, you're right."
Yeah.
Like, every time.
Because they knew.
Yeah. So I did see a comment, something about James 5. Saying that Job was one of our brothers.
Job?
Yeah.
You said James 5?
Yeah, James 5. I think they quoted. Could you pull that up for me so I can read the comment? Yeah, James 5, 10, and 11. They said Job was one of our brothers. So let me read it here.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
before you do that, can I say? I mean, just say this too with the Ruth being an Israelite discussion.
That is nuts.
They do say, there is a distinction. They'll put a distinction between the country and the plains of Moab. And everything y'all say I agree with. And also another thing to show that's used to show that she wasn't an Israelite is how the whole situation with her and Boaz, how it played out. And how it should play out if she was a Israelite. It played out a little different on the whole shoe thing and slap and spit on them and all of that. That whole little situation played out different. It didn't play out the way it's supposed to play out. But that's all I want to add to that.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. James 5.
Yeah. So. All right.
You reading it?
Yeah. I'm gonna read it. So I'm gonna start here. I'm reading from the LEB again. I'm gonna start at 8. So you also be patient, strengthen your hearts because the coming of the master is near. Brothers, do not complain against one another in order that you may not be judged. Behold, the judge stands before the doors. Brothers, take as an example of perseverance and endurance the prophets who spoke in the name of Yahuwah. Behold, we consider blessed those who have endured. You have heard about the patient endurance of Job, and you saw the outcome outcome from the master, that Yahuwah is compassionate and merciful. Okay, so a couple of things here. At least the version I'm reading does not call Job one of our brothers.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that.
Neither.
Yeah, and he's technically not a prophet. So all what it does say is that you've heard of his endurance.
Yeah.
And it's telling you to use him as an example of how to stay faithful and steadfast even when the times are hard. Because at the end of the day, a lot of times, as hard as it might be, it still is probably coming from Yahuwah. So he's telling you that's what he's saying, but he doesn't say that he's one of your brothers. Again, at least from the version I'm reading. Maybe another version reads differently, but mine doesn't say that he's one of our brothers.
Can I read the KJV?
Yeah, you can go. You can.
That's probably where he's coming from.
Okay.
It says, verse 10 says, "Take my brethren, the prophets, who have spoken in the name of the Lord, for an example of suffering, affliction, and patience." I think it's just an issue of just missing those commas there. It says, "Take, comma, my brethren, comma." I'm not trying to
stop
make
it, man.
mockery.
No, I'm telling him to stop.
It's just we got to be careful. We got to be careful. With the we do have a lack of reading comprehension. And I'm not, I'm not trying to be funny because I ain't the best reader. I'm a horrible reader. But we do have to, especially if we gonna be KJV only and be dealing with the King's language a little bit. You have to take your time.
To be honest, I don't find no fault if someone wants to be KJV, but you still have to reference where it came from too, and that'll help you interpret the KJV even better. So
yeah,
if you're KJV, that's fine, but check like it won't written in English, bruh. Like go back a couple centuries to see what was translated.
So my thing is, you can use whatever version you want, but you need to remember, like he said, it is a translation.
Except for NIV.
Except the Neil inspired.
Yeah. That the NIV is pretty bad, but there's a couple of other, like the Amplified, I wouldn't recommend either. But for the most part, most versions are cool.
The message
is hilarious.
The message
is hilarious. But the message is funny because they just translate stuff how they want. But
oh, shoot, you tripping?
Yeah. Yeah. But in all seriousness, with any Bible version that you get, you need to be aware of when it was translated, who translated it, and why. I'm not saying you need to go do a deep dive study in that. You just need to have a basic understanding so that way you can know the basic weaknesses that may be present in your version. For King James only is. I know y'all want to think that it's perfect. It's not. There are lots of texts that have been found after King James had been long dead and gone that now reveal that, hey, what do you know? Stuff was actually missing. Perfect example. There's a psalm in the King James that's called an acrostic, meaning that every single letter or every single word that starts out the verse in this psalm starts with a letter of the Hebrew alphabet, right? The Hebrew alphabet has 22 verses. In the King James, has 22 letters. In the King James, this psalm has 21 verses. Guess what's missing? The letter Nun.
Oh, no. Mm-hmm.
And when they found the Dead Sea Scrolls, they found this psalm with the line that's supposed to have the letter Nun in it. It's missing a verse.
It also has additions too, and
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
the area that talks about there's 3 witnesses in heaven and 3 witnesses on earth. The older texts don't have.
So that's another thing. And
the Yohana.
So 1 John 5:7, it actually has a verse that was added in like the 8th century, and it's known that it was added in the 8th century. King James has it, older texts don't. So like the ESV doesn't have it. A lot of newer translations don't have it. The Aramaic
doesn't have it.
My version of the Aramaic literally says verse 7 does not exist in the Peshitta.
Mine too.
Yeah. So again, I'm not saying throw your King James in the trash and burn it with fire. I'm not saying that. Just be aware of the weaknesses in that translation. It's also an old translation. Sometimes the stuff that is translated as actually was corrected in 1611.
Yeah,
it's not correct today, but it was correct in 1611. Just be aware of the weaknesses. But as long as you're sitting here acting like it's perfect, you're going to run into problems. And a lot of the problems that Israelites are having today is because they're relying on a version, believing it has no weaknesses when it does.
Yeah, none of us here use a single version. You won't find a learned person, someone who's very studious, using even really good pastors. They don't use one version. But even the King James, whether you're using
it's been modified,
or the one that was cut without the books, that's let's say a souped up or a plus version of the William Tyndale joint. That's not even the first English Bible, and there are words changed from the Tyndale Bible to fit King James's desire. And why King James was written the way it is, like even the word
church is a big one.
Even the word church, like it doesn't exist actually.
Ecclesia.
It doesn't exist in like the Latin text. It should be like assembly or something.
Yeah,
like
congregation or assembly. That's how Tyndale has it.
Yeah. So it's like, bro,
because if Jesus had given them rest, he would not have spoken of another day.
Yeah,
that's KJV.
Yeah, and that. But here's the thing: that Jesus there is actually talking about Joshua.
Yeah.
That's not talking about this. That's Joshua.
Yeah.
So again, it's stuff like that you just have to be aware of if you're going to use King James. I know plenty of people that just love the poetic speech. That's fine, no problem. Just be aware of any issues that version does have.
Yeah.
And
just be studious.
Yeah.
Just be studious.
And also recognize that I know a lot of y'all think y'all have a 1611. You might not, because the original translators actually realized that there were improvements they could make. So in 1619 there was an update, in like 1630 something there was an update. So it kept getting updated.
In Geneva, the Geneva Bibles before that.
Yeah, Geneva. There were a lot of some of those Bibles before the King James were kind of trash though, because they had some really bad translations.
I mean,
by
we
their
all
standards.
got like, I mean, I know us here, like we all have our favorite translations, and they're not the same, but we don't hold it near and dear. That's just what I like normally I first go to.
Yeah, again, just be whatever your version is. Just be aware of whatever weaknesses it might have. That's all. And you don't have to learn the original language, but getting some, a couple of words. Yeah, getting a couple of words under your belt will help.
Yeah, have a foundational understanding of the language, because, I mean, we read this all the time. We go to Sirach, the preface.
Yeah, I was about to go there.
It says if you translate a language from its original to another tongue, it loses its power.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. We say that all the time, but we don't even use it.
Yeah.
So we gotta translate. We gotta be a little bit more studious.
The New Testament in particular is like a 4 times translation.
This one went from Greek to Aramaic to Latin, and now English. And now English has changed so much, like from the old English to the current English. Man, I was just so. It's like multiple lenses what we're looking through now, like multiple layers back.
And just to be clear, the main core, it has never really changed. You're gonna get the main core, but once you start getting to the minutia and some of the details, that's when you're gonna start needing to kind of do a lot more study. But again, you can just go to the Bible, you can get the basic lesson, and you'll be good with the basics. But once you start getting to that advanced level, you're gonna need to start digging a little harder. That's just the nature of it.
And that's not cat.
That was okay. Next,
English.
That's Ebonics.
Same difference.
Yeah, whatever. All right, next slide.
Centurion healed. Matthew 8, 5 through 13. And then I have a couple questions after that.
You want to just do the questions now, or you want to hop on this?
What you want to do, Alk? I know you got to peel out.
I got to let the dog out before she.
Oh, we can wrap it up. We'll make this the last one and then wrap it up. We almost at 2 hours.
Okay.
Question.
Oh, dang.
And then there's more. We can do it like a part 2.
Okay.
Continuation and finish the rest of it.
All right, that's cool. All right. So, is the centurion an Israelite or a heathen?
Is he called a Roman centurion?
Yeah, he's not an Israelite.
Yeah, he says Roman centurion. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What verse is that again?
Matthew 8.
Matthew 8.
5 through 13.
I would ask the question: has the Messiah been unalived yet? Has he died yet? I said unalive. Good gosh, TikTok.
Well, that's for like YouTube purposes, right?
Yeah.
I don't even.
But you can say died.
I think YouTube is fine.
Yeah, you can say died. You can't say the S word and resolve to taking yourself out.
Like,
yeah.
Huh?
Don't you get demonetized if you say like the D word?
No, die is fine.
Okay.
It's the S word. Taking yourself out.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's so it says that in Matthew 8 and 5, and when he had entered Capernaum, a centurion came forward to him, appealing to him, "Master, my servant is lying paralyzed at home, suffering terribly." And Yahushua said, "I will come and heal him." But the centurion replied, "Master, I am not worthy to have you come under my roof, but only say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I too am a man under authority with soldiers under me. And I say one to go, and he goes, and another come, and he comes. And to my servant, do, and he does it." When Yahushua heard this, he was marveled. And he said to those who followed him, "Truly I tell you, with no one in Israel have I found such belief."
And another question: were Israelites a part of the Roman army?
Some people say
yes.
They
were.
Then he says, "I tell you, many will come from the east and the west and recline." They reclining at the table with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven, while the sons of the kingdom will be thrown into outer darkness.
Almost like those natural branches that got broken off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it sounds like your nationality won't save you alone, which is crazy to think that some people believe that, considering the fact that nationality didn't stop us from getting kicked out the land in the first place. But
on one side saved by grace, another one saved by race.
So the centurion was a heathen because he says I haven't found this in all of Israel.
Yeah.
So is Israel the southern kingdom? Because I don't think Israel is ever referred to as the southern kingdom.
Nope.
Israel is usually referred to as the northern kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take that, he was talking about if Israel is referred to as the northern kingdom, and if your understanding is that, then you say, well, I haven't found any. He says, I haven't found any this in all of the northern kingdom. So you can't say that the centurion is other.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, if you understand Israel being called of the northern kingdom, then you would have to subside to that. You would have to. Then it was like, okay, well, he's basically saying, I haven't found this in the northern kingdom. But based on the storyline,
he's in the southern kingdom.
He didn't even go to the northern kingdom.
He's in the southern kingdom.
In the southern kingdom.
Because again, he also told us people don't go to the Samaritans.
Don't go to the Samaritans.
Where were the Samaritans at? The Samaritans were the people that displaced the other people in the northern kingdom.
That's why
he didn't go there.
That was all before he resurrected.
Yeah.
All that was before he resurrected. After he resurrected, then he said you can go ahead, but start in Jerusalem, then go out from there. But that's after he resurrected. This is Matthew 8.
This is why Jerusalem, what was happening there was so important, because the house had to get straightened first before you can go out.
Mm-hmm.
You clean up the house before you go to the south.
You got to make sure everybody who in the house got to get right first. Then you can go outside the house. But yeah, in verse 10, dang, we just answered that.
Yep, I think we just answered all that.
Verse 11.
Except for verse 12. So yeah, the sons of the kingdom. Everybody will say that's Israel.
Yeah, that's Israel.
The sons of the kingdom.
That's Israel.
Will be thrown out of darkness.
Yeah.
Now it's not saying like the whole entire nation of Israel. It's not. He's not saying that.
Just individuals.
Yeah, he's just letting you know
those chosen people.
Yeah. He's letting you know that even those who the salvation is destined for, if you not right,
you ain't getting in.
What makes you think if your heart is not right that your flesh gonna get in? That you gonna have rulership in the kingdom if your heart, if your ruach, your spirit isn't right in that aspect.
Now, just in case somebody thinks that doesn't make any sense, there's a proverb. It says something along the lines of essentially, if the inheritance will actually go to a servant.
That's Proverbs 2?
Yeah, it'll go. Well, no, it's in the actual like Proverbs part, but it's like the inheritance will actually go to a servant before it goes to the son. If the son is foolish, something along those lines.
That's literally in Proverbs.
Yeah. So if that's true of a human, how much more would that be true of the Father, where you have the people that's supposed to be the children of Yah, these other people, but this one individual person wants to do everything the way that he said do, and is cleaving to him, even though technically he's not a part of the covenant. Yeah. This other person was born in the covenant. They're supposed to be doing everything right. They're doing everything wrong, and they don't care. What would you do as a human being? Switch. So why would he not do that?
The Father has a history of choosing who humans think. Wait a minute. He has a pattern of choosing someone different from who man thinks he should choose. It's happened so many times.
Yeah, David is a perfect example of that.
Abraham begged for it to be
Ishmael.
Yeah,
and it wasn't.
Begged, and I said nope.
Someone I had this conversation the other day when someone says that someone was stating that Yahuwah when he looked at, let's just say Saul, he said he looked at something in him. And he was saying that he looked at his blood because life is in the blood. So it was something in his blood or his bloodline that he chose. When you read the account of why Saul got picked, it had nothing to do. It had nothing to do with Saul. The only reason why Saul got picked is because Yahuwah heard the grumbling of the people and wanted to deliver them from the Philistines. That was the only reason Saul got picked.
And if you really look at it carefully, he picked the type of person that people would normally want to pick. Because Saul was taller than everybody. Saul, he had the appearance.
He had the stature.
Yeah.
He was tall, dark, and handsome.
Yeah, but he was a punk for real. And the reason why I'm saying that, is because when he was called to be king, everybody was like, where's Saul? He's hiding somewhere. and there was no battle. He was just hiding because he didn't want to go. So, I'm not trying to disrespect the man, but 3,000 years in the future. But
it depicts it.
Yeah, and then he ran, and then he did a lot of stupid stuff.
Yeah.
He did a lot of dumb stuff.
Yep.
Just so he that's who people would have picked.
Yeah,
That's who people would have picked.
That's what
He and when it would
pick Morris Chestnut.
yeah, and when it was time to switch,
Kevin Hart.
When it was time to switch, what did the Most High literally tell Saul? He said, "I'm giving the kingdom to David," and his exact words, because he is better than you.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
He's a man after his own heart.
That's yeah.
So yeah, that's Proverbs 17:2. A servant who deals wisely will rule over a son who acts shamefully and will share in the inheritance as one of the brothers.
Have a good night, everyone.
Yeah, so again, it's in there. The concepts are in there all throughout. It's replete. It doesn't have to be explained in this deep, extravagant way. I know we went into a lot of Hebrew and language and things. That was just really overkill. Mm-hmm. If you actually just reading it, even in English, even in the worst possible translation you can get,
the message.
It is you can pick the message, which is basically
I'm about to do it.
I don't know.
The message is a pretty funny translation.
I'm about to do it.
I would recommend it for entertainment purposes, just because of what they said about Judas. But
that's like the YN edition of the Bible.
Yeah, the message is crazy. But it's pretty clear, that Gentiles can get salvation. Mm-hmm. The issue really was in the Tanakh. They were not being sought after. It was really about Israel. And if you wanted to join, you had to essentially come in and say you wanted to join. Whereas in this new covenant, it's kind of just open up for everybody, because they said something crazy, didn't they?
No, it actually clears it up. It says, the Message Bible, Proverbs 17:2 says, a wise servant takes charge of an unruly child and is honored as one of the family.
See, even the YNs got it.
Even the YNs got it right.
Even the YNs got it.
That's what I'm saying. Like this stuff is clear. It's just clear. It's just clear and obvious. Yeah. I don't got too much else to say about that. It's just kind of obvious. Yeah. Were there any other questions or any questions in the chat or anything like that?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all have any other questions before we shut it down, y'all? Are there any other questions? And Shabbat Shalom Hebrew Elevation.
Shout out to what's his name, Silverback. But
I think he's bringing out a couple of scriptures, not to be going too hard on Saul.
Oh yeah.
But are there any questions? The sojourner the stranger that sojourneth among you, is that a question? Job and Edomite, we went over that already. That's in here. I know it's 2 hours long, but brothers went into good detail on why they feel that Job is an Edomite and not an Israelite. Said the Septuagint. They said the Septuagint version would say that he's the king of Edom.
Yeah, the last
y'all
chapter.
Want to speak on that a little more, I guess, for the brother.
Last chapter, last few verses.
Let me see if I can pull it up.
Yeah, it says it clear as day. Job, an Edomite king.
Job, LXX.
Kings, if I remember.
Last chapter.
Obadiah is an Edomite.
I've heard that. So I haven't seen any clear-cut evidence that Obadiah was an Edomite. It does make sense that he would be giving a prophecy towards Edom if he was an Edomite. That would make sense. But I haven't seen any clear-cut evidence that he is. So I can't say that.
It's in the last chapter of Job.
Yeah, I just pulled it up. It's
Be like the last.
Yep. So if you actually have a version of the Septuagint, what's going to happen is at verse 17, you have, and Job died, an old man and full of days. That's where most versions stop. Then 32:17a says, and it is written that he will rise up again with those whom Yahuwah raises up.
Resurrection.
17b, this man is described in the Syriac book as living in the land of Isis on the borders of Idumea and Arabia, and his name before was Jobab. And having taken an Arabian wife, he begot a son whose name was Enan. And he himself was the son of his father Zair, one of the sons of Esau. And his mother was Basora, so that he was the fifth from Abram. And these were the kings who reigned in Edom, which country he also ruled over. First, Balak, the son of Beor. The name of his city was Dinaba. but after Balak, Jobab who was called Job, and after him Assam, who was governor of the country of Thaman, and you can read the rest of it. But it goes into that, and then it clarifies again that he was an Edomite, and this mentions some other kings.
Brother Joint said he was what? A son of Edom.
Yeah.
Fifth from Abraham.
Yeah.
So
it says specifically Abram. So this is before the name change.
God dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says Jobab because that's coming from the Greek, but the same thing.
Well, in Genesis it says Jobab when it mentions it says, the dukes of Edom.
Yeah, it says in Genesis 36 and 31. These are the kings who reigned in the land of Edom before any king reigned over the Israelites. Bela, the son of Beor, reigned in Edom. The name of his city being Dinaba. Bela died, and Jobab, the son of Zerah of Bozar, reigned in his place. Jobab died, and Husham, the land of the Temanites, reigned in his place. So Jobab is right there.
Yeah. We read Enoch. We read Jasher as well, but there's some issues with that, so we don't ascribe to that.
Okay. So here's a question: Hebrew Elevation Church. Somebody just asked me about Hebrew Elevation Church too, so I guess you guys are pretty popular. Shalom. Will Gentiles in the New Covenant be servants to Israel? Which Gentiles are you talking about? So, if you're talking about the ones that convert, that become proselytes, no. Those are the ones that, can somebody pull up Ezekiel while I'm looking? They're actually going to be, they're the ones that are grafted in. They're the ones that are going to be inheriting among whatever tribe they sojourn with. They're going to be treated as an Israelite. For the other people, yes, they will be the ones that are servants. They will be the ones who are, I don't want to just say woodcutters because that kind of reduces it down. I don't know. I can't still actually say I don't know. I can't say the exact nature of the servitude. Yeah. But they will be the servants.
Status.
Yeah, it's again just a lesser status. Yeah. But the ones who are actually proselytes and converting in, no, those ones are not going to be the proselytes or servants.
Where is that at? Let me see. I guess we can end on this one.
About inheriting.
Mm. 47. Way off.
Okay.
Oh, it's towards the end though.
What you said? 39?
I was at 39. All right. So I'm going to start at Ezekiel 47 at verse 20. On the west side, the great sea shall be the boundary to the point opposite of Lebo Hamath. This shall be the west side. So you shall divide this land among you according to the tribes of Israel. You shall allot it as an inheritance for yourselves and for the sojourners who reside among you and have children among you. They shall be to you as native born children of Israel. Matter of fact, let me get a different version because someone might not like that.
I don't know, bro. That sounds good.
Let me get the Septuagint. Let me see.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the Septuagint's going to say the same thing. Just
the verse 20, verse 22. You shall cast a lot upon it for you yourselves, and you shall cast a lot upon it for yourselves and for the stranger that sojourns in the midst of you, who have begotten children in the midst of you, and they shall be to you as a native among the children of Israel. Hold on, let me go to a different version.
Yeah, that translation isn't very good.
It says the same thing. Let me go to KJV. And it shall come to pass that you shall divide it by a lot for an inheritance unto you and to the stranger that sojourns among you, which shall beget children among you, and they shall be to you as born in the country among the children of Israel. They shall have an inheritance with you among the tribes of Israel. And it shall come to pass that in which tribe the stranger sojourns, there you shall give him his inheritance, says Yahuwah Elohim.
It just depends on which one you're talking about. Because again, there are verses that also in the prophets talk about how there will be, the Israelites will possess other people and possess other nations. But then in those same books, you'll see where it talks about strangers who are, foreigners who are worshiping Yah and they're treated as equal. So again, which one are you talking about? If you're talking about the proselyte, the one that converts in, no. If you're talking about the others, yes.
Matter of fact, let me see.
There's a verse in Isaiah that actually literally compares the two right behind each other, but that one I literally have no idea where that one is at. Let me see if I can find it real fast.
Yeah, so even in this, it is the stranger that sojourns among you, it is the ger. It's not the toshav. It's the ger. And we went about that as well. The one that you're able to get slaves from, or I would say servants. Sorry, YouTube. That is the toshav. That is not the ger. That's the toshav. So two different terms, same word in the English, but two different meanings in the Hebrew.
All right. Any other questions?
I think that's about it. And I think the last one was this, but he kind of answered this. When we went through that, and then he just said about the Toshav and the Gur. Does that apply here? Is this the same? Is that answering that question there?
Well, can you go to Leviticus 19?
So I do want to go to something real quick, right? So Ezra, which is the Strong's 24:9. This is native born, and it's used as like a tree in its native, a home born in the land of one's own country nation. This is a native. Mm-hmm. He been there, lived there, born there. He got rights to the land.
Yeah.
So this is what you are to treat the stranger that sojourns among you, whichever tribe this one sojourns among you. He is to be a Ezrach. Right. He is to be a native. He is to be a citizen. He is to be an Israelite among you. This is how you treat him.
Yeah.
The same rules that go for you. If he has to sell himself to you for 6 years, you with him on the Jubilee on the 7th, you let him go. So it's the same rules apply to this one right here, not the other one that is just among you, but doesn't take hold of the covenant.
Yeah,
he just saying, I ain't gonna worship some other Elohim, and I'm gonna abide by y'all rules to a certain degree, but I ain't doing everything y'all do. So, Leviticus 19.
Yeah, I got it. So let me pull it up in a couple of different versions here. Just to make sure that this version is not Leviticus
1933.
Yeah, because I think
this is Ger.
It's Ger, and the other thing is I don't see where it says they're a slave.
Yeah, this one isn't a slave.
Yeah, it doesn't say they're a slave. So it says, when an alien, this is the LEB, when an alien dwells with you in the land, you shall not oppress him. The alien who is dwelling with you shall be like a native among you, and you shall love him like yourself, because you were aliens in the land of Egypt. I am Yahuwah your Elohim. It says nothing about them being a slave. But it does say that you're supposed to treat them as a native born, and again, the word is ger. So that technically would be a convert.
Yeah, it's a proselyte, convert, proselyte, one that has crossed over.
Yes, that's what being a Hebrew means.
One that has crossed over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, all right, brothers.
With
We
Abraham,
gotta wrap this thing home. Wrap this thing up. If y'all want to close out, just your final statements and shouting out your podcast and your channel and your TikTok.
All right, yeah. So once again, we are the Bread and Wine Podcast. The Bread and Wine Podcast, just like a pimp named Slickback, just like a Tribe Called Quest, you've got to say the entire thing. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. TikTok, we are Bread and Wine. YouTube, the Bread and Wine Podcast. I think Facebook and Instagram, the Bread and Wine Podcast. Just type it in. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music. We're actually going into our 3rd season. So we appreciate Brother Phineas and Prince of Power, Israelites, for hosting us, having us to be on his channel to talk about this. But in closing remarks, Yahuwah Barak you and guard you. Yahuwah will make his face shine upon you and show favor unto you. Yahuwah will lift up his face towards you and give you shalom. Thus you shall put my name on the children of Yashrael, and I myself shall baruch them. So in the name of Yahushua, we say
Amen.
Amen and shalom.
Shalom.
Oh man, definitely appreciate y'all brothers stopping in. I didn't know what to expect, y'all. You think, these brothers came in and looked at that PDF and said, "Hey man, we want to speak on it." And I didn't ask no questions. I wanted to be surprised. And I was bracing myself for some smoke. But the brothers, I agree. I don't think it was nothing I really disagree with what they were said today. Like it was really a confirming word for me. And to know that these brothers never been through One West Israelism. And maybe next time we'll get into y'all history and where y'all were built up, what school or school of thought you were built up in. Very knowledgeable brother. Go ahead, you can say something.
No, I was just saying, that's cool. Just we got each other's numbers and everything that we got a contact. So
right. We definitely plugged in.
Yeah, that's a bet.
Definitely plugged in. So yeah, man, definitely appreciate y'all, man. Very knowledgeable brothers, man. And it's refreshing to get another aspect. It's like they from the same tree. It's a different branch, but it's still bearing the same fruit, man. And it's great to see we all come to the same place. Again, this PDF was more so for my brothers that are not in the same place and trying to get them there. And not to say that I agree with everything these brothers say, and not to say that they agree with everything I say, just some of the things and how they navigated the text. It was refreshing. It replenished the oil. And I'm grateful for these brothers and for them reaching out. And matter of fact, this is the second time because when I gave the audience, when I opened the platform up for the name doctrine, these were the only brothers that stepped up. None of my Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai Barakatah, none of my brothers stepped up. Don't do that, y'all. Don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah. But none of my brothers stepped up.
It's the way that you said it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love my brother. I love y'all. I love y'all. But
right.
It's a dialect. It's a dialect.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Man,
listen, there's a lot of well-meaning intention. There's a lot of you ever heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Cool. So the Dunning-Kruger effect is where somebody gets a certain level of knowledge and information.
Mm-hmm.
So now they believe they're an expert on the subject because they have more knowledge and information than the average person, but they don't have enough knowledge and information to realize that they actually are not experts yet.
Oh, I had to go through that one.
Yeah, and I went through that too. And there's a lot of that in among the Hebrews.
That's basically a zeal without knowledge.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. A lot of our people, we have a lot more information than, let's say, the average Christian or the average person walking down the street, but we don't have enough to fully compile everything and process everything and realize that, oh, there's actually still a lot more to this.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who loves to fight but has no technique.
It's similar to that.
You know what I'm saying?
It's similar to that.
Yeah. Like maybe you're fast or you're agile, you're strong, but you don't.
Yeah, I'm strong. I hit hard, but
there's no structure.
Then you get in front of a boxer and you get beat up,
and
you're wondering why. It's because you're not trained. Yeah. So there's a lot of that. And again, you might have seen me laugh at some things and us laugh at some things. It's not that we're making fun of people, but
you said but.
No, we're not making fun of people.
You can't say but because but negates everything.
No, I'm saying we're not making fun of people. I'm explaining why we laughed, even though we're not making fun of the people.
So we're not making fun of people at the same time.
Same difference. Okay. So what we're doing is a lot of times the things that are being said are just they have some serious inaccuracies, and sometimes the inaccuracies are just a little funny. But we're not making fun of people. Yeah. We don't hate people.
Nope.
We're not disagreeing, or we're not, wanting to fight people.
Yeah, we'll
just
chill with them.
Yeah, it's just a lot of the things that are being said just have a lot of inaccuracies. There's a lot more study that needs to be done, a lot more information that needs to be looked into. A lot of people are not really looking at the language like that. They're not looking at the culture and the history and trying to piece things together. They're not looking at Paul and what is Paul actually doing? What was Paul actually combating during his time? Was he, Israelites and ancient people didn't look at things like black and white. They didn't have a black, or you're a black person. That didn't exist. They all were dark-skinned people. You know what I mean? So what they did have is, you're an Israelite, you're this, you're that. They didn't have you're black. And even in other parts of the world today, they don't judge people like that. That's really a Western American thing. So we got to start really looking at these things, thinking about things in a different way, and thinking about things in a bigger way. So that way we can actually start understanding this and get into a lot more truth, as opposed to, because some of these conversations we are having in the community are really easy to research and easy to debunk. That's just my 2 cents, though.
Absolutely, I agree. I definitely agree. So y'all, with that, man, I pray this thing was edifying again, man. I appreciate you, brothers, man. Very grateful for the knowledge that y'all done dropped on the channel. And make sure that y'all go over to these brothers' channel and like, sub, and subscribe to the brothers' content. There's a this a good well to drink from what I've gleaned. So salute to these brothers, man. Again, very grateful, very knowledgeable brothers. With that, we're gonna say shalom. Pray this thing was edifying. Y'all be blessed, Israel.
All right, shalom.
Shalom.